26, and we are on day 2107. 2107 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss. Richard Halliday, the distinguished honor graduate for his cycle in basic training and AIT, was a whistleblower, wanted to be CID. And they forcibly removed him because he was reporting. He was reporting on this entire criminal network that included Fort Bliss's ties to the Walmart mass shooting that was used to attack President Trump. The narrative was used to attack President Trump to tamper with the election. It's all about election fraud, right? They want to control the offices so that they can control the law enforcement and the judicial system so that they could traffic with impunity. That's what they want to do. And not only the trafficking, but the money laundering and the embezzlements and the fraud, the funeral fraud. I have some good news on that front today, and I hope everybody had a glorious Mother's Day. We had beautiful weather here, and I have my oh, I won't even mention it, but it was really a great day today, and a lot of good news coming out today. A lot of things that we want to address because when they forcibly removed Richard from the barracks room for doing the right thing, for whistleblowing, we're talking about child exploitation in the worst ways, and filming it in the worst ways, and them living in the barracks and being abused in the worst ways, for profit too. And we're talking about our military being used, weaponized, um, because they're infiltrated on Fort Bliss with the cartel. That is evidence confirms that. And and used, weaponized, using our weapons, using our uniforms, using our paychecks, um, our respect and loyalty. We give our military, rightfully so, our due respect, um, and then when you have enemies infiltrate it and use it and weaponize it against the President of the United States, a duly elected President of the United States, so that they can pull a regime change, right? Pull a regime change and tamper with the election. And then Richard whistleblows on that, and they forcibly remove him, take him to the basement room, and they take his life. They take his life, and then they steal his body and traffic it to Juarez, Mexico. And you say, how can that be? How can that be? Well, if you have control over surveillance, if you have control over security, and you're infiltrated in the military and in the funeral mortuary operations, and in the El Paso government, and also uh, in the Chihuahua government across the border, then you can do this, right? Um, and that's what happened when you have organ harvesting and baby harvesting, targeting for all kinds of exploitation and criminal trafficking that you wouldn't even believe, and what our investigation has uncovered. And so today is just, you know, a message, a really good message, because with that, and I'm trying to get to it here, make sure that I'm on. There we go. Um, is you have to have a dumping ground if you're going to dispose of bodies. And in Richard's case, evidence indicates that they harvested his organs, um, and they profited through the VA, um, military benefits, right? Military benefit system. That's what our evidence indicates. And with the leftovers, right, and our son's remains, they you have to have a dumping ground, and you have to have a place to dispose of the bodies when you're doing targeting people for organ harvesting and baby harvesting. And it sounds just so demonic, I know, and it's been absolute hell, but we have to let everyone know what's going on at the border, what our evidence clearly confirms, because of La Diabla, right? The arrest of La Diabla, Martha Mendez Aguilar, um, and her family working for Beto O'Rourke, right? For Beto O'Rourke, and then the domino effects with everybody like Benito Torres, and when it comes to the El Paso cartel, Alejandro de la Vega Foster, somebody that would have the resources to run such a huge operation. Look at El Mayo, he's a billionaire, right? El Chapo, very wealthy individuals. Um, so, you have to have resources to, even if they're stolen resources, even if they're exploited resources, to run an operation like this, a really cartel, a terroristic organization. That's what it is, absolutely. And so you have to have, the funeral home system in your pocket. You have to have the medical examiner in your pocket. Of course, you have to have the DAs and the judges, but you need to have the medical examiner. You need to have the county clerk, Delia Briones, the person that writes death certificates and that. You have to have those people in your pocket, right? They have to be absolutely narco compromised. And the evidence indicates that our son was disposed of at Plenitude Crematorium. And you saying, what is that? Well, it was a narco crematorium, um, because the pictures show individuals, over 400 bodies, y'all. And they're very, very slow at telling us about these bodies, right? That were stacked up like cordwood, in very filthy conditions, with no potable water, no air condition, rat infested, absolutely filthy, no permits. That was allowed to operate without permits, without inspections. That was Mauro Campos's mother that was in charge of that government organization that let them slide. And this was a funeral home. It absolutely was a funeral home, and it's transnational funeral home, and it's connected to, up to a dozen other funeral homes. But they might have different names, but a lot of them have the same owners, the same operators, and they're transnational, from El Paso to Juarez and back again. um, and here you have this one having a oven, right? A crematorium, a cremation oven, and yet they weren't using it. They were flesh peddling. Now, the reports from the liars of Maru Campos's administration, like Cesar Hargi, we saw what a big liar he was with the recent killing of the two CIA agents. Well, when it comes to Plenitude Crematorium, there was some lies, and one of them was that the ovens were broken, right? That this was administrative because the ovens were broken, and that's why they had to give construction material and urns to the families and pretend like it was ashes, right? Um, but that was not true. The oven was absolutely working, and the night that they got caught, and Jose Luis Ariano Cuaron, one of the owners of the funeral home Plenitude Crematorium, was arrested. And that night, though, the ovens went full blast, and they were burning all night long. So we know that the ovens were operational. They were absolutely flesh peddling. Um, uh, there's many different reasons, from the COVID, unidentified um, migrant humanitarian aid, selling bodies to demonic individuals that want those bodies to do things, like in Ukraine, that the uh, person for the Ukrainian president, what's his name, Zelensky, one of his administration people were arrested for draining fluid out of dead bodies to make certain dolls or whatever. I mean, it's just disgusting. We know that that these over 400 bodies were piled up in this rat-infested, um, filthy house, all through this house, and even in the hearse was a dead body, and the pictures are just absolutely horrifying. And Jose Luis Ariano Caron, his mother is Rosa Maria Purchase Ariano Caron, with other names too. But uh, he was arrested, and we have information today that Carlos Manuel Salas, another Maru Campos operative in her administration, posing as the AG. I mean, I guess he's the AG for the North Zone of Chihuahua, which is Juarez, Mexico, right? Um, was reported to be involved in some dirty deals when it comes to the recent killings of the two CIA agents in Chihuahua, and also with the judge and the release of Jose Luis Arellano Caron from prison. And as many people that have been following this whole story about our son knows, that the judge in the Plenitude Crematorium case said it was administrative. It was just a mistake. It was just administrative problem, and he let Jose Luis Ariano Caron go. Now, the other employee that was arrested at the same time, he died in custody, y'all. He died in custody, okay? That is really, I don't know. There's a lot of red flags that go up for me on that one. And, but today, things changed. Well, really, it was Friday, but we found out today that Jose Luis is now officially a fugitive because the Mexican government has revoked the protection that this narco judge gave him, and that the crime of Plenitude Crematorium is under investigation again. And that is very, very good news. And for all the mothers out there that have been fighting um, for justice in this case, because of our children being victims of all of this, um, and our family members, not just our children, but family members. That is really good news because they have been fighting very hard. We have been watching this these families um, uh, on both sides, right? On both sides, and so today was a really good day because their voices absolutely drove um, the Mexican government, along with the exposing of the two CIA agents that were killed in this rogue, unauthorized operation under Maru Campos. That was really an assault on Mexican sovereignty. And really, it is because she wanted to supersede the authority of the Mexican government, the Mexican federal government. Maru Campos just thought she would just be the president of Mexico, right? That she would just make herself queen or something. But she superseded the the sovereignty of Mexico, the federal government authority in Mexico. And of course, she signed the treasonous treaty, and she conducted this uh, rogue, unauthorized operation that caused the deaths of two CIA agents and two AEI agents. Um, and yeah, and then, the whole cover up with Carlos Manuel Salas being there with unexplained wealth in El Paso and making dirty deals to release Jose Luis, who, of course, fled to El Paso, right? He fled to El Paso. That's where they have their house. They don't want to live in the house where there's 400 dead bodies piled up. They live in their house in El Paso, and he drives an Audi. Um, this is, but now he is officially a fugitive. And so we're waiting. Okay. We're waiting a long time for a lot of things, but we're being very, very patient because it's all in God's time, right? I mean, everything is being exposed here for so many victims, not just for our family and for Richard, but for so many victims of this cartel terroristic organizations that has tried to supersede not only the Mexican government but also the United States government. They were absolutely doing regime change both in Mexico and in the United States. And so I have a video, video of uh, an operative, a pan operative by the name of Lily Thais Tullis. Anyway, um, I'll get it. I'll get it. And she was on this morning show, and I just thought, really? Wow. I'm going to play it because what she says, just this little clip, is really horrendous. I don't know. I think it's criminal. I think it's criminal because she is a senator, a Mexican senator from Mexico City, and now she's making her rounds like at the Lincoln Club there in Orange County. And then on on American TV, on American TV, giving a false witness because she's not telling what her party has done, and that her party is absolutely in line with the El Chapo cartel faction, and of course with the El Paso cartel, which is confirmed to be in alliance with the CJNG cartel and the Juarez cartel, that she is really a cartel wolf in the sheep's clothing. That's what she is. And now she's going on TV lobbying with this false witness narrative of what's going on in Mexico. Clearly, she is up to no good, absolutely up to no good, um, really trying to sabotage diplomatic operations between President Trump and President Scheinbaum. And so, I just have to play this clip. So let me do that for you to understand. It's at the top. She's here at the top.
She's afraid that if she extradites.
Okay, who she's talking about, she here, is President Scheinbaum. Let me just go back a little bit.
Afraid that if she extradites to the United States these narco politicians, there will be the Pandora's box will be open, and many other narco politicians will fall. I mean, this government is not acting, is not responding to the rule of law, but to the rule of the mafia.
So this is mafia. Right. You all, but
okay. So what she's saying here is that President Scheinbaum is responding to the rule of the mafia. That's what she's saying. That she's not responding to the rule of law. And that is just wow. For a Mexican senator to be making the rounds on American television, to play a victim, to play like she's a whistleblower, and being the pan party, okay, the pan party, which is so creepy to me too. I would never name a party pan party. I know it doesn't stand for Pan, that demon god, but it just gives me the creeps, right? But she is the pan party along with Maru Campos, okay? Maru Campos, and she absolutely has this history of of taking billions of dollars, the Pan Party agreeing to billions of dollars from Americans for security for the border for years. We're talking about since I think 2012, right? And since then, right? Uh, uh, because Alejandra de la Vega was, playing both sides. She's a double agent, being on the governor's administration in Texas, being on the governor's administration in Chihuahua, Mexico, and sitting on the committees for intelligence agencies and law enforcement for security of the border. And yet, there was an invasion into the United States. There was, I don't know how many missing people and missing women in Chihuahua, okay? And of course, you have the targeting of women and being pregnant and the baby harvesting, the organ harvesting. You have also all of the child trafficking, 500,000 children trafficked, that calling them unaccompanied minor migrants, right? Um, and all of the time, that Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking through that border, right, all the way up to Zorro Ranch, right, using that secure um, airspace of White Sands Missile Range. Of course, that's a whole long story that I've talked about quite a bit. But all of this was under this PAN um, agreement with, wanting this security money. And then where's the security, right? And then you have Mauro Campos absolutely covering and making deals, her administration, for the Plenitude crematorium funeral fraud, over 400 bodies, so many families, right? So many matter of fact, there's a the last time we heard is over 1,000 families. And you're like, okay, where are the where all these tampered death certificates, right? Um, and then her mother's in charge of that. And then you have the death of the 2 CIA agents in her pan party rogue operation, superseding Mexican sovereignty laws and the Mexican federal government's authority. Then you have this whole signing of this treasonous treaty to give um, intelligence agencies who are, infiltrated with cartel, and she knows that the cartel access to intelligence databases, federal files, to tamper with federal files, because we know our son's case was tampered with. And you're talking about access to agents. And then you have all this money being spent on a AI surveillance network. Where did this money come from? $1.27 billion. And you know, where did all that money come from? Because includes a $240 million tower that is all glass, 20 stories high. One floor of it, the 18th floor, was supposed to be for the CIA, the DPS, the FBI in Juarez, Mexico. Like, FBI is supposed to be in Juarez, Mexico? DPS is supposed to be in Juarez, Mexico? CIA, so and it's right on the border, right? I mean, you could walk over and go, because it's by the bull ring in Juarez. If you've ever been to Juarez, Mexico, the bull ring is right there on the border. It's directly on the border. And, so where did they get this money? Because Chihuahua, Mexico is so in debt. And here she's already been accused of embezzling. Paperwork has evidence, shows that there's embezzling going on. The Chihuahua is so in debt, and now you have an economy that's down in the dumps, but yet you have all of this money being spent on a AI surveillance system, high tech, including a 20-story high rise tower with a helipad on the top, right in the premium property by the bull ring, right there in Juarez, right on the border. Um, and then there's so many other um, things that she's involved in that is is what the Pan Party is doing, that is so criminal. And Lily Tejas is not even mentioning this, that her party is under investigation for treason, that 50 officials, administrative officials, are this week going to be interviewed for the treason her party is engaged in. she doesn't say that. She's trying to sabotage diplomacy between President Trump and President Sheinbaum, between the United States and Mexico, uh, because this investigation into Mauro Campos would expose so many things like Plenitude Crematorium, like the tampering with our son's case, with tampering with our son's remains, because our son's remains were disposed of in Juarez, Mexico, and even though he was murdered on a military base, Fort Bliss, which this tower sitting at the border is directly pointing at Fort Bliss. So, and we know that the person that built it, uh, and Chihuahua uses the Pegasus software, which listens to everything. It's this incredible software, spy software, where you can listen to everybody. So, are they going to listen to generals on Fort Bliss? Are they going to listen to court cases or the DA's office who's filing? Or who are they listening to? And who paid for this, and who is in charge of this, and who has access to it? Because we know that Nadal Bayim, being, wanting to flee to Kuwait with $44,000 of stolen money just recently. That's the Strait of Hormuz. That this is the Iran Contra connection. That this is Iran Contra 2.0. The sale of arms for drugs and all of that. We know that that's all involved here. So, do they have access to? Does Iran have access to that intelligence database for the right price? The cartel are in business of selling everything, right? If they have control of it. And does China have access to it for the right price to spy on our military, our largest military installation? These are the things that, need to be asked and need to be put out there. And yet, um, uh, what is she doing? This Lily, um, wolf in sheep's clothing, right? She is trying to stop. She's trying to rally and lobby American voters against President Sheinbaum, who is investigating uh, the CIA rogue operation by Mario Campos. Um, and also the Plenitude Crematorium, where an American U.S. soldier remains may possibly be. That's what the evidence indicates. She's looking into um, uh, uh, the border right now, the border of Pan Party, Maru Campos. And yes, she is the opposite party. And the other opposite party member is Ruben Rocha Moya. And they grabbed onto that indictment. The United States from New York indicted Ruben Rocha Moya. And when that came out, our first, it was like, wow, we know that Rocha Moya was the name dropped in the El Mayo entrapment, right? To get him, with a bag over his head and thrown into a plane and flown to El Paso. And he's in an American prison right now. He was taken to the FBI office there, the Connell Wetton. He's a narco FBI agent there. And, so that was without any kind of extradition orders or whatever. So that was also like a cartel. We know that El Chapo's son, um, was trying to make a deal, and we know that El Mayo was not really bowing to the El Paso cartel. And so there was, a battle there, and El Mayo was really kidnapped from Sinaloa, Mexico, into to El Paso, to the Santa Teresa International Jetport right there, um, uh, taken to the El Paso FBI office. Yeah, but then, of course, transferred to New York. I mean, it's just such a mess. But Ruben Rocha Moya lives um, in Sinaloa, and he he, of course, was indicted, and President Scheinbaum said, okay, let's have the evidence of what you're saying. We want some evidence. And then if there's evidence, and we can um, um, extradite Ruben Moya. But we see this as maybe a distraction, especially coming out of New York. And I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But it's just the timing of it. They've had all this timing to press charges against him. But no, right when the Pan Party, right when Mauro Campos gets caught in all of this, and she's under the light for treason, then this kind of comes up. And so that's why we question it, for a very good reason. And now today, and I'm going to share this with you, there was a message, right? A message. Let me show you this. Uh, Ruben Rocha Moya's house was shot up today. And so let's play this.
Traigo el equipo listo pa' pelear, bien artillado como guerrero, y pa' que sepan gente del sombrero, en el Salado y por Culiacán, en varias trocas no deben circular, la gente del sombrero operando, también me la navego por Durango.
Okay, I can play it one more time.
Traigo el equipo listo pa' pelear, bien artillado como guerrero, y pa' que sepan gente del sombrero, en el Salado y por Culiacán, en varias trocas no deben circular, la gente del sombrero operando, también me la navego por Durango.
And it's interesting. He doesn't, he has pretty light hair there. He has pretty light hair. Be interesting to know who that was, to go through this. They're wearing that hat, but this is interesting. Anyway, so what the rumors are online is that this could be CIA, this could be El Mayo, because El Mayo, his trademark is the sombrero, also this song, this music. You know, I I'm having a hard time with both of those, from everything that we know. I It just seems so like right the week before the trial begins against Maru Campos for treason, they want to bring this up. They do this shot, and I and of course, if you're doing a trial against Mauro Campos, it's going to reveal, of course, Richard's case, and of course, Alejandro de la Vega of being the double agent, being the El Paso cartel. People are going to find out about the El Paso cartel. I just think that this is like a desperate attempt to slow that down, just like the who knows how much money they spent to get Lily Taze on those mainstream news programs. That must have cost a fortune for her to get featured on there. And then, of course, to be invited at the Lincoln Club. So there you can see this major attempt to um, stave off or get the public to not focus on Maru Campos and her her trial, her treason trial this week. That's going to be, I mean, you have her AG already fleeing to El Paso too. You have uh, Carlos Manuel Salas being caught in making dirty deals, and he also lives in El Paso. He has unexplained wealth in El Paso. That really indicates that he's up to no good. So, there's just all of this would come out and plus more that we don't even have knowledge of. Um, and that would be because we have so much knowledge on so many things, and then on top, but their their grip and their tentacles, just like when it came to organ harvesting or even this baby harvesting to sell babies on the black market. And then, of course, you have all the child trafficking and what all that entails. And then you have the Jeffrey Epstein part of it, and then the drugs, and then the weapons, and then the cars, and all the equipment. And now you have intelligence trafficking, really, selling intelligence to the highest bidder, let's sell the Lincoln bedroom to the highest bidder. I mean, this is really, there's so much treachery at the border. And now you see these attacks on President Trump and President Scheinbaum, who in our um, estimation through our investigation are trying to get some semblance of our country's sovereignty back, um, and um, and actual uh, an economy, a productive economy that is apart from the cartel control, because the cartel had their tentacles in the economy to, I mean, from hotels to restaurants to bars to sports to everything. They had their tentacles in. And so to create a new economy that's apart from that is what's been going on, what's been attempted here. And so just to warn you about what you hear, um, you really have to do your homework on checking up on these people. And, I knew that Lily, when I started listening to her, I'm like, but you're the pan party, you know? And why aren't you talking about Maru Campos's treason? If you're, because she's absolutely part of the cartel and all the embezzlement and Richard's case and everything. And no, she's just attacking Scheinbaum, the very person that is moving forward in this trial, this treason trial of Maru Campos. So I think that is, you know, a good explanation of what's going on. But in all of that, there is accountability coming to Maru Campos. There is a moves of accountability coming to the Purchase Arellano Cuarón family that has this transnational funeral fraud um, terroristic organization, really, that is connected, with what that whole thing with La Diabla and her family working for Beto O'Rourke, being with Del Carmen. I can go through all the evidence, the whole flow chart of it. goes back to this Plenitude Crematorium, this group. So that means that this is all connected. And it is just so wicked, and it has to do with hospitals and um, it's just clinics and providing illicit organs, illicit. It's so hard to talk about because you don't want to even think that that's happening. But absolutely on the border, we need to address all of this. And um, so there's accountability coming, and it's not always as fast as we want it to be because it is so intertwined with our day-to-day lives, that you have to be really careful when you're extracting it, right? You have to be very careful. So we're, you know, it was a good day to see that Ariano Caron's protection was revoked. He is a fugitive. I don't know if there's a reward out for his capture, but he is a fugitive in El Paso. The last time we heard, which was just recently, that he was in El Paso, and he needs to be um, arrested. He needs to be arrested. And it was Mauro Campos that let him go in the first place, right? With her narco judge. So, yeah. Thank you, everyone, so much for the Mother's Day wishes. And thank you so much for all your love and your prayers, your flowers. Thank you so much for all of that. And that support means the world to us. We only ask one thing, and that's for you to share these stories. We don't monetize, just to share this information out there because we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And evil people can move forward when good people don't do anything. And the one major thing that you can do is to share this information so that, the hypnosis of the likes of these lobbyists that get on the TV and try to mislead you with false information, with a false witness, right? Which is one of the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not bear false witness. Yeah, that's so that doesn't happen. Let's stay informed. So sharing this information, and then of course as you share it, then people read it and they return information to us, that is so important, either expanding on what we know, or they might even correct. um, and we've had a lot of that, so that's why we've been right all along, because of this amazing social media communication that we've had, this outreach that we've had, and amazing people that are sick and tired of the cartel having control of our communities and even our countries. And so that's what they wanted. They wanted total regime. They wanted like an incognito. I think this is my opinion. They wanted like a stealth regime change, that they could wear our government's faces, but that they would operate without any regard for our country's laws, be it for the Mexican laws or being it for the American Constitution. Yeah, so they wanted to run both countries, but without any regard to our countries. And that's a terroristic organization. It really is. So thank you so much. God bless